Welcome to Handmade Happenings. I'm Marissa. Today I'm making the Children's Corner Charlie pattern. As usual, I start by cutting out my pattern pieces. I'm using scrap fabric here today, and this pattern comes with a few variations, but since this is a gift intended for summer, I'm making the version with shorts. I also want a slightly more modern look for this outfit instead of the typical heirloom look. So I am using a ruffle sleeve pattern from another Children's Corner pattern, the Lizette dress. And I'm also leaving off the collar. Another change I made was to the back bodice. The Children's Corner patterns typically have an outer back bodice and a lining one. The outer one is wider, allowing for the main fabric to have a deep fold that goes under to the back side of the bodice. However, since I'm using scrap fabric and don't have a lot of room for that, I folded the pattern about 1/4 inch past the fold line and just cut out 2 of the main fabric and 2 of the line. I also cut out 2 front bodices, 2 sleeves, 2 front and back shorts pieces, 2 plackets, 2 cuffs, and 2 of what the pattern calls gripper pieces, which go on the inner leg seam. For the assembly, I'm going to start with the bodice. I place the back bodice pieces right sides together with the front and sew them along the shoulder seams for both the main and lining pieces. I take the sleeves and press them in half with the wrong sides together and gather along the raw edges. Base them to the armhole of the main bodice. Then I place the main and lining pieces right sides together and sew around the armholes, neckline, and back openings. Then clip the curves and turn it right side out by pulling the back bodice through the shoulder. Now I did have to go back and sew the armholes with a deeper seam allowance because I was having trouble catching the sleeves in my stitches. The last step for the bodice was just to sew the side seams. For the shorts, I start by placing the front pieces right sides together and sew the crotch seam, which is the J-shaped one. I do the same for the back, but stop just below the placket. I also sewed the 2 placket pieces together on one short edge. I then clip the corners of the back shorts and the placket and sew the pieces with the right sides together. Clip the corners and flip the placket right side out. Then I folded under the raw edges and pinned them in place. I'm going to leave that alone for now and move on to the gripper piece. I iron on a piece of interfacing to half of each piece, then fold the pieces in half with the wrong sides together and press. I unfolded the pieces and sewed one to the inner leg of both the front and back shorts. I fold the piece along that pressed line, then turn the raw edge under and sew in place. Now trim off the excess. Sew the front to the back shorts with the right sides together at the side seams. Now take the cuff pieces and I press them in half the wrong side together. Then fold and press the short edges under by 1/4 inch. Gather the leg openings of the shorts to the size of the cuffs and sew together, going through only one layer of the cuff. Fold in half along the ironed line, then turn the raw edge under and top stitch. Now I'm gathering the waist of the shorts to the waist of the bodice and sewing it to the main bodice only with the right sides together. Turn the bodice lining under and whip stitch it in place, as well as whip stitching the edges of the back placket. The back closes with buttons. I sewed 3 buttonholes on one side using the buttonhole stitch on my machine and hand sewed the buttons to the opposite side. And I attached metal snaps to the leg opening. And here it is. I think it turned out really nice. Sometimes when I make baby clothes with scrap fabrics, there's this tendency to allow the fabric that I have to dictate what I do, and sometimes I just don't like how it ends up turning out. But in this case, I really like it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for another handmade happening.